East week is here for Rutgers men's basketball. Huge opportunity for this program, facing Notre Dame on Tuesday night, Alabama, top 10 team on Wednesday, and then a variety of opportunities on Saturday, depending on where they fall in this bracket of the Players Era Festival, first of its kind at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tip-off Tuesday night, Notre Dame, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, airing live on TBS. Deja vu all over again. Playing Notre Dame in a late-night game on the TBS network after that NCAA tournament wild game 2.5 years ago. And I expect this one to be pretty wild as well, a high-scoring affair. Obviously, Alabama is looming. They play Houston before, so that is going to be an interesting result. And Rutgers, listen, coming off the loss at Kennesaw State, just by the time this game tips against Notre Dame, it'll be a little bit over 48 hours, about 50, whatever. And this is a big statement for them in terms of, as a team, a come-together moment, right? They had a really tough loss in a legit mid-major college basketball environment. It's a bad loss on paper. It's also a loss that I think in the long run can benefit this team. But the question now is, how quickly can they learn from it? Can they apply what happened on Sunday and show up in a way on Tuesday night ready to play? And also, from a coaching staff perspective, rotation-wise, which we'll get into, but there should be real urgency in this game against Notre Dame. Rutgers needs a win. And you have the net rankings coming out next week. You do not want to go 0-3 in Vegas on Feast Week. And Notre Dame is an opportunity to get your confidence back, to get a big win, and to go in against Alabama and just let the chips fall where they may, and then see what happens on Saturday. But if you can go 2-1 in Vegas, that would be a huge boost for this program. Perception, confidence. But where's it going to come from? This team's going to have to dig deep. Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper facing real adversity for the first time in their college careers, and adversity that, they never really had to deal with in high school. Losing as big favorites. It's on the big stage. The national hype is real. They had a sit-down interview with Taylor Rooks of Bleacher Report, and which was all related to TNT and TBS, and those are out. Pikiell was on John Rothstein's podcast on Monday. I mean, the national attention is there, but you have to win, right? To keep the positive vibes going. I know fans are concerned after that loss to Kennesaw State. It is, college basketball is very fluid, and this is a golden opportunity to get back off the mat very quickly. And this is a extremely high-profile tournament. And Notre Dame provides them an opportunity to come out and to show what this team is made of. Now, even if they go 0-3 in Vegas, certainly would be cause for concern. It's a long season, but from a resume perspective, you want to start chipping away at that. And on this neutral court environment, Notre Dame is probably going to be a Q2, even on a neutral court. But you never know. The ACC, Notre Dame they have some talent, and they could surprise in the ACC. And maybe this becomes a Q1 at some point. But you need to start notching some resume-building wins. And this certainly would be that. And you want to avoid resume-crushing losses. Not that this would be that, but you need to start, that neutral road court record matters down the road in terms of the NCAA tournament selection committee. And this is a chance. Notre Dame right now, number 70 in KenPom, coming off a loss to Elon at home. And Rutgers is number 75. Notre Dame, in terms of their resume, I mean, they beat Georgetown on the road by 21. Georgetown is not particularly good. They've beaten Stonehill, Buffalo, North Dakota, and lost at home to Elon, a pretty solid Elon team, by the way. But both teams now going into this game coming off mid-major losses. So both teams are going to be hungry and looking to bounce back in this game. From an offensive perspective, Notre Dame can shoot the rock. They are 16th right now in the country, 61% from two. They're obviously shooting a lot of threes, 36.4%, 85th national. This is Micah Shrewsbury team. They're going to shoot threes. Former Purdue assistant. We saw him at Penn State. The last time he was at Penn State, he took them to the second round of the NCAA tournament. That's also the year that Rutgers beat them twice, blew them out at home, had that tremendous comeback. I think it was 19 points. Derek Simpson stepping up, and Rutgers beat them in Happy Valley. So does Pikiell continue to have Shrewsbury's number? We'll see. In terms of Notre Dame, their best player has been Marcus Burton, 5'11" sophomore guard. But he is, one of the best assist rates and lowest turnover rates in the country. Just in terms of his scoring, he's averaging 21.4 points a game, shooting 47.1 from the field, 35% from three, but is very good at the rim, and he's tremendous at the free throw line, 16 of 19 so far. He's also averaging over 5 rebounds, so he does it all for them. He's their playmaker. He is kind of the guy that traditionally Rutgers would look to take out of the game. So what does that mean on the defensive end? Does that mean J. Mike is going to get the assignment? He's struggled a little bit of late, even on the defensive end. Obviously, Rutgers is much bigger on the perimeter. In addition to Burton, they have Matt Alaco, the Princeton transfer, who Rutgers pursued heavily. He is 6'4", and then you have Braden Shrewsbury, the coach's son, at the 6'3" sophomore. He can light it up. He's shooting 37.5% from three on 32 attempts. Alaco is just a tremendous all-around player. He's shooting 47.1% from three, 8 of 17, and one of the most efficient players in the country. No surprise there, has been consistently. So in terms of the perimeter, Rutgers has a big size advantage. I think what I'm looking for in this game is the identity of what Rutgers is trying to do in this game, right? And I think part of people read into the margin of victory and that Rutgers wasn't winning by a lot against these other teams. I mean, listen, they won all their other games by double digits. They weren't blowing teams off. But, a lot of it is Pikiell still trying to figure out things for the rotation. And I think what I'm looking for in this particular game is shortening the rotation, right? There needs to be urgency on the floor from the players. There needs to be urgency from the coaching staff. And this needs to be looked at as a one-and-done game. This is an elimination game, right? Because this is a tournament, right? And you're looking to get as far in this tournament as you can get. This is an elimination game. And that's how you have to approach it. And Rutgers needs to put their best strategy in place, right? And in terms of the lineup, I've talked about this for a while now, but the minutes have been pretty evenly distributed, other than obviously Ace and Dylan averaging over 30 minutes a game. And they're both averaging 32 minutes exactly. No one else is averaging over 24. So you have Somerville, Martini, Hayes, Durkak, and Jeremiah Williams all averaging between 20 and 23 and a half minutes a game. J. Mike is at 19. Egbole is right under 12. Tyson Acuff's around 10. So that's a 10-man rotation. You have to shorten it up in this game, I think. And you have to come out ready to play from the offensive perspective, just in terms of you can't fall behind in a hole in this game and all of a sudden you're down, 10 points because Notre Dame shot the lights out the first 5 minutes of the game. You got to come out ready to play with a specific game plan. And I don't see a world where there doesn't make sense to be a game plan of Dylan Harper dictating things from the opening tip on. And I think that's where this team got in trouble against Kennesaw State. Listen, love Ace Bailey. That was a big homecoming moment for him. But his shot selection in that first half, the flow of the offense, this team never got into it. And they dug themselves a huge hole because they're not playing defense and rebounding on the other end. So looking for physicality in this game, looking for urgency on the glass, and looking for offensive flow. All of those things need to be there from the opening tip on, because if you're not ready to play those first 5-10 minutes, you're going to dig yourself another hole. And that's just going to be, not that they can't overcome that, but nobody expects this team to be a finished product yet, but you need to start to show some progress here. And I think part of that is the rotation. And in this game, it's going to be interesting to see. Does Pikiell shake up the starting lineup a little bit? I've harped on the fact Jeremiah Williams hasn't been fully healthy with that shoulder. He started to look the part in that second half. He really was so huge defensively. He brings it on the defensive end, but also just what he brings experience-wise and on the offensive end. Rutgers needs to attack the rim in this game. Notre Dame does not have a huge presence down low. They have Njai is 6'10" junior. He is a rim defender, but in terms of his block rate, he's pretty proficient there. But that's it. That's it really. Tay Davis, the brother, former Seton Hall player, Jay Davis, also played at Seton Hall for 1 year. He's 6'9". He's a physical guy, but Rutgers needs to get to the rim. They took way too many mid-range shots against Kennesaw State, and it burned them. I think they were just 6 of 22. I counted in that reaction video. At the rim, listen, they've been pretty good this year from 2-point range overall, but at the rim, they're around 60%. And from 2-point range this season, Rutgers is shooting 53.7%. Went down, obviously, after that Kennesaw State game, but they need to get to the rim to this game. They need to get to the foul line. Notre Dame does not foul a lot. Rutgers has been pretty good from the line. Obviously, they missed a few at the end of that Kennesaw State game, but still, 17 to 23. There's a lot of guys that can hit free throws on this team. And I think Dylan Harper getting downhill from the get-go is really important. And I think it'll set up shots from the perimeter in this game. And I think Zach Martini and PJ Hayes have to get shots in this game. You have to get there's going to be a balance, right? I think you need to show some full court pressure. I think you need to trap. I think, Notre Dame does not really turn the ball over at all. And Rutgers has not been very good at turning the ball over. Notre Dame top 50 in terms of offensive turnover rate. They don't force a lot of turnovers either. Rutgers hasn't turned it over, but yes, you want to create some offense off your defense. And in terms of what Rutgers can do, I think in terms of the perimeter size advantage in this game, I think trapping makes a lot of sense. But Notre Dame, listen, they have some good ball handlers, but you need to score. You need to score in this game. And it's going to be interesting to see, because strategically how the flow of this game goes, I'm not saying you give up on the defensive end, but you need to keep up offensively. And PJ Hayes has been very consistent, and he's contributing in other ways. He's rebounding. He's passing the ball. Listen, he's not the best defender, but he's got size in this game. I think foot speed, right? Lateral movement, defensive rotations are key. You can't let Notre Dame just, shoot open threes and get to the rim at ease. You got to have some type of resistance. And I think that's where the full court pressure can come in spots. I don't know if they'll implement the zone a little bit. I would not be surprised if they mix that up, but you also have to score, and Hayes and Martini, for example, Kennesaw State, Hayes and Martini had 10 shots. Jordan Durkak and J. Mike, arguably two of the best defenders, not really arguably, they are two of the best, probably with J. Will, the two best defenders on the team. They had 9 shots. And while they need to be, when they're on the floor, Durkak and J. Mike, right, you need spacing and you need the defense to consider them threats, right? But they're not shooting the ball particularly well right now. Hayes and Martini are. And I think they need to be prioritizing this game. They need to get, of those 4, Martini and Hayes need 75% of the shots. And Durkak and Davis, they're very good defensively, although Davis has struggled lately in terms of defensive fundamentals. But Durkak is a Swiss Army knife. I think he needs to be part of that rotation tonight. I think in terms of shortening the rotation, listen, Agbole's got to be physical from the get-go. He's in there to rebound and play defense. And no, he scored 10 points and he was proficient, 4 or 5 from the floor. But if he's not laying a body on somebody early in this game, I don't know how many minutes he can get in this game. And you may just have to adapt. And if that means Martini at the 5 and you're just playing an offensive-minded team, I think that's what you do. But we'll see. I think, listen, Pikiell, he's a really good coach, and I know people like to criticize him. And I think, listen, you deserve criticism when you lose a game like you lost. But at the same time, it's not unfathomable that they lost that game. And there's learning stages in a season. It's a long season. And for two young stars that have never really they've been under the microscope for a long time, but that was a learning experience for them. And now they're in a big stage, national stage for the first time. And I think what's surrounding them is really important in this game. And the thing is with Martini and Hayes, you don't just get offense around them to help space the floor, to shoot around the perimeter. You get some leadership. You get some veteran experience around them, along with J-Will. So I think, personally, I want to see as much of that 5-man lineup as possible in this game. That's just me. But in terms of, you go with Martini at the 5, you have Ace, then you have Hayes, J-Will, and Dillon. And I'd like to see that lineup get a lot of run in this game. I think, obviously, offensively, that I think is unquestionably your best lineup. Durkak's going to have to be effective when he's in the game. Somerville, he's really struggled defensively, but he can score. He can also help space the floor. I think with Igbole, he's just clogging up the lane. And it's no disrespect to him, but that's just his game, right? He's not an outside player. And I think playing Notre Dame and Alabama, you need to be able to score. You're not going to win. And I think also it's a little bit of a pipe dream to think you're going to hold Notre Dame and Alabama under 70 points, right? I think you just have to adapt here. You have to play your best strategy to win in this game. Doesn't mean this is a finished product. Doesn't mean this is how you're going to play ultimately in March. I'm not saying give up defensively, but at the same time, you need to get a win tonight against Notre Dame. And what's the best way to do that? If that's winning 90-85, then that's what you have to do. And we'll see. But I think, personally, I'd shorten the rotation. I think Agbole and Davis, depending how their first run, I think they get more limited minutes. I think Acuff, he played just that 4-minute stretch in the first half, did not make an impact. And, Rutgers was minus 11 with him on the floor. I'm not saying it's his fault, but he's got to be able to make an instant impact off the bench. And I think you cannot give up on him because you need him. You're going to need Acuff. And I think Pikiell recognizes that. And that's why he continues to get a chance. He's still working his way back. But, you got to get your shooters shots. And, Acuff didn't get a shot in that 4-minute run. So shooters need to shoot. You need Martini, Hayes, and Acuff to get some shots from behind the perimeter. You need Ace and Dillon attacking the rim. You need J-Will attacking the rim. You need some offensive continuity. You need to share the basketball from the get-go. Ace needs to get shots that are high percentage shots early. Don't create more difficult shots for yourself than you need. This team needs to get into a flow, and that's really important from the get-go, and I think that's what hurt them. And I think by the time they figured things out in the second half, they almost came all the way back, and they just fell short in the end. But again, I think team chemistry, all of that, being on the road, I think this is a really critical time for them. I think it's a really good time that this is all happening right now. This team needs to take a step forward in terms of their maturity, in terms of their cohesiveness on the court, right? It's getting real right now. And in terms of these next 2 games, if you don't show up, you're going to get blown off the court. So I don't expect that to happen. And I'm really excited. I think you're going to see an inspired effort against Notre Dame. And I think that depending on the lineups, like I said, for me, those five, that's the best lineup that I see. And again, Durkak, he's got to get time, right, defensively, but all the little things he does for this team, he needs to be in that rotation. Somerville, for sure, it's going to take time defensively, but he helps stretch the floor for them. And in terms of Acuff, right? I mean, J. Mike's going to get some run tonight, in terms of the defensive end, but if he's not effective against Burton early, and if he's not shooting within the flow of the offense, I think his minutes go down. And I think Ebola, he's got to understand why he's in the game. He's got to throw himself around. He's got to be physical. That doesn't mean foul, right? And Notre Dame's a very good free throw shooting team. They're shooting almost 80%, 78.8%, but they haven't gotten to the line a lot. Rutgers has to show that they can rebound the basketball. There's got to be more urgency there. There's not enough crashing the glass when the shot goes up. All things that Pikiell's been preaching, all the things they've been practicing, it needs to show up on the floor in this game. And obviously, Alabama, that's a whole nother animal, and I'll touch more on them after the Notre Dame game on the recap. But Alabama, you might have to score in the 90s. Well, you probably do. You probably do. I mean, they just put up 100 on Illinois. They beat Illinois 100-87. So I think this team's at a crossroads very early on. You're not going to become a top defensive team tonight against Notre Dame, but you do have a ton of offensive talent, and you can space the floor, you can stretch the floor, and I think you need to use that to your advantage against a smaller team. I think Rutgers is a bit more athletic. I think they need to look to run more, but you got to rebound to run. You got to get turnovers to run. And Notre Dame, they play at a slower tempo. Alabama plays at a racetrack tempo. So don't worry about Alabama tonight. Worry about getting that first win against Notre Dame. Just in terms of shot selection, get to the rim and shoot threes. Cut out these mid-range shots. Don't play into the what defenses want you to do. It's the least valued shot in college basketball. This team needs to get to the rim. They need to finish their layups. They need to get to the foul line. And they need to shoot threes. They need to move the basketball. And again, Dylan Harper is your facilitator. Let him cook because he is at such a high level. And I don't think he was nearly involved enough in that first half against Kennesaw State, and they fell behind 18 points. So this is a huge game for the program. I'm really excited to see them show what they're made of in this game. And, listen, you obviously need a win. If it's a close loss, it's going to be gutting. It's going to be very disappointing. But the flip side is, if this team doesn't come out to play and gets their doors blown off, then that will be a cause for concern. But what's the style of this team? What's the mentality of this team? They have to be tougher. They have to be more physical. They have to show urgency in this game, and that means attacking the glass. That means, in terms of defensively, being aware and really giving this Notre Dame team fits in spots when they can, because you have a clear size edge on the perimeter. Now, you can't let Notre Dame just blow by you, but it's going to be very interesting to see how Pikiell manages the rotation in this game. And like I talked about the minutes, we'll see. But PJ Hayes, he needs more minutes. He needs to be prioritized in the offense. I really believe that. I mean, he's shooting, almost 50% from three. Is he shooting better than 50% from three? He is shooting, 9 of 17, 52.9%, 58th in the country. Martini, 9 of 20. Ace, 7 of 17. Dylan, 6 of 20. Shoot the three. Acuff's 3 of 8. So those 5 guys, get them threes, space the floor. Dylan, Ace, and Jay will have to attack the rim, create open shots on the perimeter, gets to the rim themselves. Durkak's been pretty good about getting to the rim and getting to the foul line. He had a rough night from the foul line, which unfortunately was a big factor in that loss to Kennesaw State. But before that, he's been very good from the line. I expect him. I mean, listen, he's nails. He brings toughness. So he still obviously needs to be a factor in this game. But this team need to come together quickly. And this is the first time as a team they face adversity. Let's see how they respond. I'm hopeful that they will in a positive way. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, TBS, Rutgers, Notre Dame. They will play Alabama at 10 p.m. on TBS on Wednesday night into Thanksgiving morning. I will have a rapid reaction following the Notre Dame game. I'll get more into Alabama in terms of, I mean, that is as talented an offensive team as there is. 6'11" Grant Nelson, 6'1" Mark Sears. So many good players on that team. Obviously, the Cliff reunion. But you got to take care of business in this first game. And then you go in playing loose and you let the chips fall where they may. This is a game Rutgers needs. Rutgers, Notre Dame. Thanks so much for watching and listening to this preview. And I'll be back after the game in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.